G'day everyone. Remember when this went up in flames? Well, to make that switchboard that we upgraded compliant, we need to install a new earth stake. So let's do it together. G'day everyone, and welcome to another episode. Now, if you remember from last time, that this here, the point of attachment was on fire last time we were at this house. So why are we back here again? Well, as you remember, when we did the switchboard, we needed to install a new earth stake. So we're here today. They're 1.4 meters long. It's a copper rod that earths your property to the earth, to the ground. So that's why we're here. We're going to install that, and we're going to show you how to do it and where to pick the best location to install one as well. So if you want to learn how to do one, then tune into this video and we'll show you how to do it. All right, let's get into it. Yeah. So when installing an earth rod at a property, a lot of things you need to consider, right? So you need to consider location of where it's going to be, whether or not that's going to be a suitable location as well, because you want to get a guaranteed bond to earth, right? So there's different ways you can do it. You can do a stripped building wire. So you can strip it down to the copper when you dig a trench, when you're doing new mains, and you can put the copper cable straight into the ground, bond it straight to your earth bar, or the most typical method that most people have is an earth rod, right? So you want to pick an area that's, you know, exposed to the weather, exposed to the elements as well, and when you install it, you'll have the copper and the rod, and you'll spray it with gauge spray once it gets in the ground. So in this property, we have pretty limited options, but we have here, we have, you know, rock and pebble, clay, typical old 1950s style house of New South Wales. But what I've got as obstacles, and you need to be aware of this, is I've got terracotta gutters and pipe work underground. All right, so what you've got to consider, I know for sure that there is a down pipe at the back there, so potentially this pipe work goes straight underneath the house and straight to this location here and continues to the stormwater drain, which is all the way down there. Now we can't guarantee that, because we don't know. Right? One way you can figure it out is you can look at plans of the property, if you can get them from councils, and you can find the underground mains, how they were designed. May not be accurate, but it'll be close enough, right? So I don't particularly want to go anywhere near down into the switchboard, because what could then happen is I could hit that pipe and you wouldn't really know until the stormwater or the drainage starts being used, because then it could start flowing up out of the ground and it will corrode your earth rod, and then you've got no earth in the ground. All right? So I'm going to pick what I think is a better area, which is this garden bed just here. All right, so this area here I think will be a better spot. So I'm going to start with drilling a hole with a hammer drill straight into that hole there, which is going to be no bigger than the earth rod. I'm going to drill down to see if I'm going to hit anything, because a lot of concrete, there's a lot of concrete footings that come in with houses. It looks similar to this, where the bricks will sit on top. So imagine that's your brick, that's your concrete footing. But this is a elevated house, so it's on piers, it's on brick pillars. This is literally just a foundation front for the property. All right, so unlikely, but there could be a concrete slab there that's holding up these bricks. All right, so we're going to drill down first to get an idea of what's there. There will be no pipes or anything running on the front of the property here, because there is nothing in the way. There's a down pipe just over there, but again, that'll probably be coming across and somewhere over here. Right, so we're going to drill through there. We know we've got NBN conduits that literally go right there to the pit just over there. So they're straight through. So I'm not going to hit anything there of anything like that. I've been under the house and I've seen there's no pipes or anything coming under the floor here. All right. So we're going to go under there. We're going to go right in that location, drill straight through there. We'll show you how to do it. And then we'll start bashing in our earth rod, and we'll show you how we do that as well, because there's many different ways you can do it. All right. So tune in. Let's show you how we get started. All right. So first thing I'm going to start with is I have a very long, it's about a metre long, of a 12mm hammer drill bit, which is just a bit smaller than the earth electrode side. But as I said, I'm not going to be driving this all the way down to the length of the electrode, right? So I'm only going to drive it down to get through any obstacles that may be in the way, whether it's concrete or, you know, a bit of clay, anything that's really hard and you can't get through. So we'll start off with our hammer drill, with our big bit. Jam him on. Come to the spot we want it. We want to go as close to the property as we can. Now don't start just drilling away, right? Just try and force the hammer drill bit down as hard as you can and see what you get past, right? So then we go, right, as far as we can go manually. Let's go with a bit of power, right? All right, we're definitely way past the bricks, any footings, anything else. There's definitely no footings there. We haven't hit anything yet because it's going through really nicely. All right, I'm about 3/4 of the way down the bit now. I'm happy with that. We'll take it out, and that can go to the side for now. We don't need that. All right, so there's different ways you can put an earth electrode into the ground. So I'm going to grab the earth electrode, and we're going to show you different ways of how to install an earth electrode in the ground there's a few different ways you can do it, different tools you can use to tune him. All right, so when you got your earth stake, you can drive it into the hole where you want it to go, where you've pre-drilled, forcing it as hard as you can. Now, to get it into the ground, right, you obviously need some force, okay? So you've got a few different options you can use. You can use a typical hammer, you can use a lump hammer, which is just a small sledgehammer, or you can use a big sledgehammer. The only problem with using a big sledgehammer is it's very hard to do it on your own, sometimes, depending on how good your upper body strength, your arm strength is. So, you know, trying to swing with a big hammer, you tend to choke the hammer, so you have a big long stick hanging out the side of you, and you're trying to whack it, or the other option is you get a person to hold the stake for you while you hammer, and you want to make sure you've got good aim, otherwise you shift off the side and you can smack the person who's holding it in the hands or in the face. So there's different ways to do it, but yeah, hammer is a typical way to do it. If you want to try and bash it in, you can sit there tapping away. You could hit something very hard and you get tired at the end of the day. The other option is this little tool here. So it's an SDS adapter, so it goes into your hammer drill, and all it is literally just a big tunnel, right? It's a massive little tunnel, and all it is just you put that on, just hammer mode only. So you got to make sure your hammer drill has hammer mode only, because some of them don't have a hammer mode. And all it is, you can get these at Sydney Tools, Total Tools sell them, some electrical wholesalers might sell them as well. They're very cheap, but they come very handy. So all you do is you put that in your hammer drill, you put that on top of the earth stake, and just go to town as deep as you can get it to go. I like to start with the hammer until I get to a point where I don't need this anymore, because at least with the hammer you can sort of tell what's happening and what you're hitting. Hammer drill you won't know until you hit something really, really hard like a rock. All right, so I'll start with the hammer, and then I'll transfer over to that to finish it off, because it'll get to the point where it's too hard because the ground's too thick. All right, so let's start hammering. Now notice what I'm doing as well is I'm pulling it off the wall, right? So at the moment it's at an angle where it's going away from the house, whether it was the way the hammer drill was going down or anything. But if I take my hands away, as you can see, if I let that go, it's up against the house. So the risk that I take is, as I try and hit that, is I'll graze up the house like I did there, right? And I don't want to do that. So I'm keeping it away, keeping my hands down low enough that I can still get a good swing out of it, right? And then I'm choking a little bit on the hammer, only because I don't want to have the full range of losing the control of the hammer and I lose the distance. So if I was back further, then this would probably be alright, but because I'm trying to do it close for you guys to see, I'm going to lose range on the hammer. So I'm choking the hammer a little bit, still whacking away. Alright, so we're most of the way there, but I want to show you off how we use the hammer drill, so let's start. So we'll get our hammer drill, we'll take our big piece out, get the adapter, we will set it. So our hammer drill has our rotating function, so you still rotate the head and then hammer. So you've got those two options. You've got your hammer and drill, where you've just got your drill mode. Alright, so we want to turn this round. It's hard to do from this angle. So push that button in, spin it round to either that first one or to the last one. It doesn't really matter because we don't need this head to spin, okay? So come down right again, pull it away from the wall so we don't scratch or damage the wall. We slot that straight on. Make sure you can see, and we go for it. All right. The only thing I found is it's getting a bit hard with the hammer drill, so I'm just going to try and hit it with the hammer a bit. Sometimes the old methods work better. Alright, so we're most of the way there. So let's grab ourselves a tape measure and just measure how far off the ground level. So we don't want to go off the garden level because the garden level is higher, right? So we want to go off the ground level. So we want to measure just up the bricks so we can get a gauge off the bricks, right? Measure up the bricks, see how far we're coming out of the ground. If we're more than 200 mil, we want to go down a bit more, all right? So let's go have a look. All right, so from ground level up to, let's say, to that brick there, we're at about 320. About another 100 mil we need to go. Alright, my hand's getting a bit tired, so I'm going to try the hammer drill again. Just wasn't very comfortable and it was very noisy. And you don't know the time of day it is here, but it's not very nice. Unfortunately, I'm not doing a good showing for that hammer drill bit, so we'll just go old fashioned still. Alright, we're pretty close to that mark now. That marks at 200 there, and halfway through the brick. We'll give maybe a couple more taps, and we'll be happy on that location, I'd say. Alright, I'm pretty happy there. I said it's that distance there will be pretty good in a sense that that'll get really far enough down. It hasn't gone through anything. It's concealed in the garden, so we don't need any mechanical protection around the actual earth electrode itself, but we'll give some conduit protection for the cable when it comes through this brick wall back into the switchboard. So let's now drill a hole to get our 6mm earth up into the underfloor space, and we'll drill one and we'll go surface up to the switchboard as well, because the switchboard's surface on this weatherboard house, and it's very hard to get cables up an internal wall, so not an internal, an external weatherboard house, because there tends to be noggins and everything in the wall, which has that. It's my house. I don't mind it being a bit of conduit on the outside when I've got a big orange 40mm conduit on the side there, so it's okay. All right, let's get into it. We've got our big hammer drill. We're going to drill a hole above. So what we want to do is we want to have the conduit will come out, only a bit of corrugated conduit will come out, and we'll cable tie that to the earth rod, and then the cable will come down and loop up onto underneath the clamp for the earth rod. So that way the mechanical protection stays. As a little tiny loop comes out, it's the only bit that's exposed, and it's very, very minimal, and that way we can keep compliant and not have the earth in a situation where it can get damaged. Alright, so drop that there. If you've got it too big of a hammer drill, what you can do is you can pre-start with a smaller bit, but we're impatient, so. Alright, we're through. So what we'll end up doing is we'll have some corrugated conduit. We'll just go in the hole just to protect it as it comes out. As it will drop down just enough to put a cable tie over it. And the cable will come out, loop up and in. Right. The hole was going a bit sideways, so that's what we did, was we moved it on that side. Instead of bringing the conduit on the left side, we'll bring it on the right side, and the cable will come up the left-hand side. But sweet, that's done. All right, cool. So now we can go and get our earth cable, our 6mm earth cable, and we can do one of two ways. So I want to make this side the most decorative in a sense, because it's the one that I've got the most minimal cable to work with. So what I'll probably end up doing is drill a hole with a switchboard, where I'm going to have the cable coming out, feed this out, tie everything on, ready the conduit and everything like that, and then tie it to the earth rod, dress it, have the corrie go through, and then we can go back under and clip it up, because that way I don't have to try and do it from here with the end of the cable and then try and feed all the cable into the wall. It's going to make it a lot harder, right? So on the switchboard side, I'm going to come up here with a piece of rigid conduit. So you've got knockouts in a switchboard, right? I'm not sure if you can see or not. I'm hoping you can. So we have knockouts that we can hit. So this one here is a 20, that's a 25, that's a 50, that's a 25 as well, and that's another 20. All right, so we end up drilling a 40 when we did the mains. So I'm going to drill out, I'm going to hit that knockout out. I'm going to line up perfectly on that one, which will be about this point here. So we'll drill out that point there. Sorry. So we'll come down, we'll drill out this point here, punch through there, cable will go in, the conduit all the way down here. All right, let's get drilling. That's a mission, that. All right, that's drilled through. So now we can feed our cable through there. We'll feed that under the house. So I'm just taking them out of my cable clips case. So one of the cable clips I tend to try and use for this sort of stuff, because it's a round cable. So it's good for like data and everything. You can get these at Bunnings. I'm sure wholesalers would get them if you actually ordered them, but there's enough to get like just a 50 or 100 back from Bunnings. But yeah, they're rounded, so you don't crush the cable with the flat TPS cable clip. So that's a little handy little tip if you want to try and get them. That way you can make your cables look nice and neat when they're cable clipped, if you want to go through that much effort. Now I'm sure there's plenty of footage of me going through a roof space with running cables, but not many bits of footage of me going under a floor. So let's do it together. So we got our cable clips. One hole, two hole. A little tip for apprentices, right? So this is a very old house, and it tends to have a lot of old stuff. If you ever see this corrugated sheeting under the houses, try and stay away from it, because it's more likely asbestos. So anytime you see corrugated sheeting under a house, like if it's steel, it's alright, right? But if you see it's like a greyish, fibrous material, Just steer clear of it, don't bump it, don't kick it, don't try and push it away, leave it where it is, because it's more likely asbestos. Okay, so just a little warning there. So let's go for a crawl. There's our earth cable, and now spider's webs. I don't like spiders. They scare me a bit, especially when there's a huntsman skin lying around. So let's get our hammer and clear off the path. Hopefully don't scare any of them, if there are any, and turn that into, fairy floss for Shrek. Want to come up. I've got a metal flange on top of this, so I want to keep it loose enough that I don't clip on that and get it caught, right? So we'll leave it a bit loose, grab our cable clip, hammer away. Right, so there's that, and that's loose enough that it can be played with, right? I'll keep the head torch there so you can see. So that's still loose enough you can play with it, right? And that is not going to catch on that when it's pulled too tight, right? So that's good there. Let's get some more. Alright, so we'll just curl that, make a good loop out of it. As I said, the cable will mould itself, but we're hoping that when I push Corrie through there, that'll hold itself in place a bit better. Same with over here. Like I said, we'll push the Corrie up through here, and hopefully it'll just sit on just above that, so it stops it from catching on the metal, but we'll see. Like I said, if it doesn't, the Corrie itself will push it away, and same with that one, so we'll push it up a bit higher. Alright, so now you've seen that process, let's get out and finish off the earth stake. Alright, see you outside. Just in case you were wondering how this gets done, and just how low this floor really is. Yeah, roof would be great right now. Alright, let's get into it. Over here, I'll grab our zinc spray. I'll grab a 25mm screw adapter, and I don't have any lock rings, so I'm just going to use one of these. I don't want to drop that there. We'll see you over there. All right, so I could have picked a more comfortable position to be sitting in, but we like to do this to ourselves. So we have all of our tools that we need. So we have our corrugated conduit, which is going to go in there. Only thing we don't have is a cable tie, but that's okay. We can do that after. We have our earth clamp. So this is a brass earth clamp, which will wrap around the electrode, like so. And then our cable will slide up through there, and then we'll fold the end over so it cannot be pulled out afterwards. We have our earth electrode tag, this one here. We have our Gauss spray. Oh, we have our pliers as well. Right, so we can get our cable ready, prepped and ready. So we want to fold it down, so the conduit's going to come that side, so we're going to go down. We're going to come back up, and we'll have a little bit extra to come off as well. So we'll cut it about there, snip that, get our length of corrugated conduit that we need to go inside. So we only want to come out the wall about an inch, really, an inch and a half. So we want to go in the wall a bit, so we'll cut it about there. Alright, we'll slide that on, so that comes through the end. Alright, got it. So we can strip that. So you want to go the length of the brass clamp and double. So you want to fold it over, right? So I want to strip it about there. We'll get it from there. Strip it all the way off. Now you wouldn't have to twist in this sense because it's going to clamp around the whole cable, but I still think you should twist it. Reduces the chance of any extra resistance happening from them not being twisted together. Twist them tight, snip that loose end off, So I'd start just with loading this up for now. So you want to make sure that that screw is going to be facing the way you want it to. So I know that I'm going to come up, the cable's going to come up on the left hand side. So I don't want that to be on that side, I want it to be on that side. So a little extra detail there. So we'll fold that over. So it holds on there for a bit. Now if that nut's all the way out, this still opens up pretty easily. Alright, so you grab the clamp with the bolt, pull it open, we'll slide it over the top. We'll slide it on. We should carry out of the way for now because it's not necessary. Alright, so that's on there. So we can push this down a little bit, nothing too crazy, just to stop the cable from being exposed too much. Alright, grab your screwdriver, hold the nut with your finger on the back, start screwing up, make sure that cable is going to stay tight and in place. So get it to the point where you still got some loose feel on that cable. And still got a bit of play. Pull it back down so it's not going to be clamped on the insulation. Alright, when you're as far as you can go, grab your pliers on the back of the nut. Start screwing. Screw that up tight. Right, and that will end up like that. So what we'll do now is we'll get something to protect the wall. We'll get our gauze spray and we'll spray this whole connection, spray the earth cable. So the reason why I folded this earth cable over, the main reason for that is that in the event that this gets caught on something, you know, whether it's someone with a little gardening tool or, you know, whatever reason, it's unlikely, but just in the event it does happen, if that gets pulled and this connection is loose or over time something goes wrong with it, is that little hook over on the top, a little hook over there, can prevent it from being pulled out. So it's got to pull itself all the way up for it to actually be yanked out. Right? It's unlikely it's going to happen. Connection should be tight enough it's going to hold it, but just in case that does happen, at least that option's there. Right? So we're going to get the gauze spray. I'm going to use this box because these are brand new, so they're going to go in my van, same as these tags. Now, what's the one thing I did wrong? HVAC techs will know something similar of what I've done wrong. What's missing from this right now, from this installation? Can anyone guess? Somewhere around here. Painful. Absolutely painful. So, we've got to now undo it to put this on. So when you have these, just throw it straight through the cable. So in the event that it ever gets, you know, someone wants to find out what this is, which, you know, it's very unlikely anyone who's touching it doesn't know what it is. But at least there's a little signage saying, so do not remove it in the event, in any event, no matter what it could be, because as I said, it's an important component of the electrical installation. So at least that's there. When that comes down there, that could be facing the right way, which I may just flip it, just for peace of mind. So we'll flip that tag around, so that way when the cable folds around you're going to see it. So the way that the cable's coming in, you're never going to get it to be perfect, right? So at least now I can cable tie the cable and the earth tag, and it's still at least dangling there. You can see what it is. If you walk up to it, you can see that earth electrode sitting there, and it's been indicated as to what this cable's doing. Okay, so as I said, now we'll grab our gauze spray, we'll spray this whole connection. So we'll just get this behind. So I'm not too fussed about spraying the conduit, but I'm going to try and avoid it, but some things are unavoidable. So just cover the back of it, we don't spray the wall. So you want to spray the top where you hammered it. Spray the connections. You want to try and get behind as well, and on top. So because I've sprayed the conduit, I'm just going to spray all of it, and just make it all look symmetrical. Alright. We can still see the tag. The tag's been sprayed. Everything's been sprayed properly and neatly. We've got a little bit of an overspray there, but it's not too bad. Alright, so when we get a cable tie on that, we'll cable tie that all up. That's all being protected from any rust and anything like that now. So everything's protected, everything's ready to go, and now we can finish off on the switchboard side. Alright, let's do it. Alright, so now we're at the switchboard side, so we've got our cable. So we want to make a length that we need, so we can pretty much just stand up, get the length of the board, give us a little bit extra so we've got some play on the board. We'll cut that off, cable can go away. We've got the length we need, so what we need to do is we need to open the switchboard. As I said, we left it exposed for the next time we came to wire it in, so we want to take out this little one here. Right? We're going to take out that one there, we'll put the screw adapter in, that's all our beautiful work. Then we're going to bond onto this earth point here, which will bond the board, and we'll have a brand new earth stake and a new main earth instead of using the old equipotential bond, which is going to under the main bedroom. Right, so let's knock that out. So there's two ways you can attack it. You can attack it from underneath, or you can attack it from the top. So I try and go from the top because you can get underneath them. Right, we got him. Absolute pain where we got him. Alright, so that can go. Then what we can do is we grab our screw adapters. So we want that one to go in the bottom, up in there, and we'll have this one, as it's not a lock ring, but it does the same job. Lock that onto there like that, and that's tight. So we're only going to want enough to come down the switchboard from there to about there. Right. We'll get our conduit, cut the point we want it to be cut. We'll get our coupling. Now I'm tempted, just because of neatness, it's going to look a lot better, but I'm tempted to get a bend on that. We'll do it properly. Alright, so we bent our piece that we need. As I'm not the best at bending, but that's done exactly what we needed to do. Only thing I did was not bent it on the riding side, as you can see. So you'll be able to see this, but in the day I've got to paint this conduit, so I might as well paint this conduit while I'm at it. Alright, so we'll get our glue. We'll glue up this stick of conduit, slot it into the screw adapter, and all we need is just a stick a bit of corrie. We'll cut it, got our cable cut. Apprentices, tips from mistakes, and I'll still do it. Put the lid on when you're done, even if you're not done with it, just screw the lid up. Unless you're using it in and out, in and out, in and out. If you need to let it go for more than a minute, just put the lid on. It will save you so much of a heartache when your boss has to clean up glue. I spilt glue, blue glue, so blue plumber's glue that we used to use. Never used the clear glue for a long time. I spilt that over the face of an outdoor unit for an aircon, and it couldn't be cleaned. It stained immediately. We tried to wipe it off and it stained it, so we had to end up replacing the cover of the unit for the client, which is an out-of-pocket expense to the company I was with. Live and you learn. Apparently I never learn. Push that in there as far as it wants to go, which is perfect. Pull that up. That's in, and now we can wire it in. So when wiring up the earths, obviously, like this is not going to be live or continuous when you normally do this. Obviously this will be done before you energize. So any earth faults, potentially going to run down this cable, right? So you want to make sure that if there's any faults on this, like it's now bonded, right? It's now down to earth. But if there's a fault, you don't want to be on both ends of this cable, right? So what you could obviously need to do is you need to isolate power. So there's no load coming through. Obviously just cables, power going through if there's a faulty neutral or anything like that. But as long as you isolate power, you'll be doing this fine. But what you want to do, get your cable in a good position that it has some flexibility, because you don't want to make everything too tight, because then the next person that comes along is not going to like you. Snip the excess off. Get to a point you want to strip it, so you can strip the cable with a knife if you want, or you can just be, realistic and use your pliers, the thing you use every day. Alright, so strip a bit off. I try to yank a lot of the cable off like this by hand, because what it does, it just separates a lot of it from there. But you can do this with your pliers. Some cables you can do this just by hand. Sometimes you got to do it with pliers depending on which cable you get. I know some of the solar cable that we use, it's on the cheaper side just because we use so much of it. That cable, the 4mm cable we use there, is absolutely terrible. Wrap it around really tight. So if you've got another cable in there or you can see gaps in it, try and fill those gaps with that cable. That's what I tend to do, because one will keeps the area of the cable that you're wrapping onto a lot smaller, and because you've got finer strands you can fit it in different holes where the cable can fit in. All you probably do is just get your pliers and just try and twist, flatten everything down, because when you solder this, those ends won't actually bond very well. I'll solder this now and we'll call it the quits, and we'll show you what the finished product's going to look like. Alright, so we get our little blowtorch gas bottle. It's our little blue flame. Alright, we need our solder. Unwind a decent bit so you can put it down, you don't need to carry it. Unwind the bottle, point it somewhere where you're not going to burn anything first. Start heating up all your copper. And how you'll know as to whether or not this is ready to be soldered, right, is if you can touch it on a bit of copper that you haven't touched with the flame, and it starts to melt without the flame. Alright, so it's starting to get good in the middle. Another sign as well is if you can notice that where there is there, it's starting to get a bit pinkish. That's another sign that the copper's getting hot there in the middle as well. Okay, the hot air rises and solder will follow your flame. Keep the flame ahead, the solder will chase the flame. Alright. Take your flame away, turn it off, set it down, let that cool off. You'll wrap that up with some earth tape once it's cooled down, and we'll saddle up the conduit as well. Yeah, done deal. We'll saddle that onto the wall with some water because this is a fibro weatherboards. Once that's done, that'll be cooled down, and we can then wrap that up with some tape, and we're done, and we're ready for testing. There's continuity to that earth stake if you feel the need to. You don't feel the need to. You've got to do it. Do your testing. We all know that, right? But testing video is going to come of us doing a testing installation, which will be testing this board. So we'll show you that when that comes, all right? So do your testing. I'm not going to show you in this video though. We'll show you in the next one. All right? So let's see where this finishes. I'm sure there's a proper name for these particular screws, but I call them roofing screws, like they're hex screws. But these are timber lighting screws, right? So they've got the 5/16 head on them, bigger, wider head on them, so they'll be able to grab the spade bit pretty well, the saddle pretty well, sorry, and they've got a decent thread on them as well, so that's why I'm using them. So you can get them, grab yourself a saddle. We'll start at the bottom because I want to get this bottom definitely secured. Make sure it's straight. The bend that I've done is not very straight, that's why it may not look straight. I know it's definitely going to pull over because of where I pulled that saddle over as well. The only way I'm going to be able to fix that is by flipping that saddle, and then I'm going to have a hole exposed. And that's not going to look good, is it? So that's done. Let's go get our earth cable and tape all that up. Once all that's all taped up, then we're good to go. Come to our trusty tool bag of tape. Put those down for a second. We're in a bit of a hurry here. Grab our earth tape. Ow, that's hot. Don't put your hand on that thing. So, start on the cables, because you want to cover the insulation as well, and just start wrapping. So if it's still warm, the tape will actually get a nice bond onto the cables as well. So I go all the way up. Some people may not agree to this next bit, because of the next person, but I don't want any chance of this being exposed and looking ugly. So wrap and wrap and wrap until you cover all insulation, and do another layer. Doesn't have to be as coverage because you've already covered it, but I just always do another layer and then finish it. Remember, as we did tongues, fold it over so there's a spot for the next person to pull it off. All right? Keep that in mind for the next person, and then also come up to this old one as well, so you weren't sure which one we were going to come to. Let's just try and fold that down because that's going to pierce me tape. Wrap it on, rip it off, fold it over. Next person will thank you when they're trying to pull that tape off. It'll make it easy for them as well. So then all that needs to happen now is you need to do this. You need to identify where that earth is. So you come to your switchboard. Now either on the panel or on the enclosure, whichever you feel comfortable. I think the panel, because the panel is going to stay majority of the time. This enclosure may change when you want more space, right? If you do batteries, solar, anything like that we do as well, then you may end up needing to change the whole enclosure or change the board or adding another board. So do it on the panel because that's never really going to change. Unless you change everything, then you'll redo it all, right? So you've got to label where your earth is located. So for me, it'll be earth is located in the front garden under the window. So we'd write that in there. Main earth electrode location, front garden under window. Main equip potential bond, which is the bonding for the water pipes, is under the house, under the main bedroom. So we say under house, under main bedroom, because that's where it's located. So that when someone comes to investigate to find out where a fault may be, a plumber wants to know where that is. So if they've got to remove it or they've got to replace that pipe, they know where they can isolate and remove the earth properly and then rebond it if they need to, which they shouldn't be touching, but if they do while they're here, then they do that, right? So that's what you've got to do, that's what you should label. So I'm probably going to write mine just here, be main earth electrode located front garden, and it'll be main earth electrode, main equip potential bond, sorry, located under the house, under main bedroom. All right, but that's it. So that's pretty much it. And there you go. That's how you install an earth electrode in a property that doesn't have one. So if you enjoyed this video, like it, because then we know you enjoyed it. Comment on the video, tell us what your favourite part was or what you learned the most, mainly for apprentices on that one. And, you know, check out our YouTube channel. Click on this link just here. It'll take you to our YouTube channel. You can hit that red subscribe button, hit that little bell icon, and you'll be notified every time that we upload. But if you enjoyed the content, you want to see more of it, click on this video here, and that'll take you to the house board when we upgraded the switchboard in this property. Click on this video here, and it will show you a security camera install that I did with my best mate Bryce. And if you click the link just here, that'll take you to our website, which will show you all the different avenues of all the different work that we can do. And you can also click on our social media from that point there as well. So thanks everyone for tuning in. I really appreciate it, and look out for the next content coming out soon. Cheers everyone.